Welcome back to the Emily Show. There's a lot to cover this week. I have some updates in the Young Thug trial, the Tom Girardi trial, and for the last 2 weeks, I have been doing nothing but watching the Olympics, everything from the modern pentathlon to water polo to, yes, breakdancing. But we have to talk about women's gymnastics today. Why? Because there are courts and jurisdictions and governing bodies all involved in Jordan Chiles' bronze medal. And that's one of the things we're going to be breaking down today, including rulings from the Sport Court of Arbitration and the latest statements from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee that came down as I am recording this on Monday, August 12th. This is a developing story, and there might be more that happens between the time I record this and when it's released. We're going to do the best we can, and I will keep you up to date in the Law & Order app. So lots to talk about. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Emily Show. I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst and big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years. I'm a former prosecutor, and I break down the legal side of pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. We should just get into it. Let's go. Thank you to today's sponsor, Green Chef. Green Chef delivers farmer market vibes right to your door. They are a certified organic meal kit company, and they really lean into fresh, seasonal produce in all of their boxes. And the recipes are so easy to follow. They come out of the box with a picture card, and you can have dinner ready to go that the entire family will enjoy in mostly just about 30 minutes. If you're looking to take your clean eating routine with Green Chef to the next level, they've got an offer for you that has 2 times the support. Green Chef's offering its healthiest menu items ever and access to top-rated gyms and fitness studios worldwide from ClassPass. That's right. For a limited time, Green Chef subscribers will also receive 50 credits to use at ClassPass. That's about a month's worth of membership. So if you're ready to try it all for yourself, go to greenchef.com/EmilyBakerClass for 50% off your first box and 50 free credits with ClassPass. That's code EmilyBakerClass at greenchef.com/EmilyBakerClass and get 50% off your first box plus 50 free credits to ClassPass. Find out for yourself why Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. Let's get back to today's episode. With regard to the Young Thug trial, yes, the trial did resume today, Monday, August 12th. And yes, the witness who was at the center of a lot of the recent motions after an almost 2-month break from the jury and the judge being removed off of the case, all of which I broke down in other content on this podcast and on the Quick Bits podcast. All of that was leading up to see if A, the jurors, when they returned today, could put Kenneth Copeland's testimony out of their mind when they returned to court, and B, how little Woody or Kenneth Copeland woke up this morning and decided whether he was going to testify or not. And he did decide to testify today. A lot of his testimony was that he doesn't remember, and the rest of his testimony seemed to encompass that he is a lying liar that lies. He told prosecutors under cross-examination, I would have told the detective anything to get out of the trouble that I was in. I told him what I thought he wanted to hear. I lied to him. Y'all kept putting me in custody. And these are regarding statements from 2015. Y'all kept putting me on custody. I said whatever I thought would work. I didn't want to be a part of anything. I didn't want to be in custody. I still don't want to be in custody. And that's what I remember. I don't remember what I said. It was a lie. And even when the prosecutors brought up specific points that he told investigators that had in fact happened and were corroborated, he said, I don't know. And they said, well, isn't it true this thing happened and then you told the police this thing happened? He goes, that's how you lie better. This was his testimony. That's how you lie better. You take a bit of truth and sprinkle in bullshit. And I was like, well, he's probably being honest in that testimony. I still am shocked that this trial is continuing underway. The court denied the defense motions to dismiss. The defense attorneys have taken a writ. This case is a long way from done, though. Remember, it's expected to be ongoing until possibly March 2025. So we're a long way from done, and who knows what's going to happen. I still think at some point this case is going to have juror issues, but the fact that the jury is back and the case is back underway is still kind of stunning to me. So we'll see what happens in the weeks to follow. The Tom Girardi trial is back underway. Today, they are on day 4. And yes, there was an earthquake in California during the lunch break, but at least it was at the lunch break, and that was felt across Southern California at various courthouses, though it seemed to cause relatively few disruptions, though sometimes they do clear the buildings for things like that. So it could have disrupted this case just a little bit in the afternoon. But as I'm recording this, court's not done yet in Los Angeles. And trial, of course, started on August 6th with opening statements, the prosecution leaning into the argument that Tom Girardi was treating his client trust accounts like his own personal piggy bank. They illuminated for the jury that he was spending money that should have been going to clients on a lavish lifestyle, on private jets, and the entertainment career of his estranged wife, Erica Girardi. And yes, she did file for divorce in November of 2020. And yes, that divorce is still pending. Remember, Tom Girardi is being accused in this case in Los Angeles of stealing over $15 million from client trust accounts. This is separate from the Lion Air crash. He has been indicted related to that crash, along with his son-in-law and others in Illinois federal court outside of Chicago. And he still has those 2 pending bankruptcies. Plus, he has not been actively participating in the bankruptcies and is under a conservatorship under the care of his brother. However, he was found competent to stand trial, and the standard for being placed in a conservatorship is much easier to meet than the standard to be found not competent to stand trial. And so this is underway. And the defense in their opening statements argued that Tom Girardi is an old man. This was the quote that was reported. Girardi was an old man whose mind was not what it was and who was being defrauded by an individual that he trusted to make sure the firm ran properly. And Chris Kamen took everything from Girardi. Chris Kamen, or Chris Kamone, of course, being the CFO, who's also been criminally charged. He got arrested dramatically at the airport coming back into the US from the Bahamas to visit a family member. He is accused of a side fraud of over $10 million, though I've seen that number raised to up to $25 million. We'll see what comes out as this continues on. But the side fraud is what the defense is leaning into. It's really an empty chair defense that some other dude did it. This dude sitting here in front of you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is not the man. The other dude, the other one, the one who's not here, that's the person who's really responsible. So there will be a mix of that from the defense, that Tom Girardi was losing a step and those around him took advantage, and that it's all to blame on the CFO, and that Tom Girardi couldn't form the intent to steal because he just didn't know. But as we get into witness testimony in this trial, there are witnesses who are going to talk about Girardi going back to 2010. So these thefts go back well before anyone had raised the red flag that Tom Girardi was showing signs of decline. And I think once the jurors hear from not just the clients of Tom Girardi, but other attorneys, they're not going to be persuaded, but we will see. Opening statements took up day 1. On day 2 of trial, the jury heard from Joe and Kathy Rugomez. You might remember them. There was a huge piece on their story in the Los Angeles Times. You've also seen them in the first Housewife and the Hustler. Joe Rugomez was injured in the San Bruno PG&E gas line explosion in 2010. Kathy, of course, is his mother who hired Tom Girardi. And when you remember that Girardi was very well known for the PG&E case where he won, well, he with others won a settlement of over $333 million, the largest at the time. That case was outlined in the movie Erin Brockovich with Julia Roberts that came out in 2000. So when we're looking at PG&E and lawyers who have dealt with this company, I'm not surprised that just 10 years after this movie came out, that Tom Girardi's name was still at the top of the list of plaintiff's attorney who could handle such massive litigation. So I'm not surprised that he was able to show the Rugomezes, which he did, magazine covers, touting his experience, brought them to the hospital and showed them how famous and well known he is, what a big reputation he has. What's interesting to me is that the jury heard in the testimony from Joe Ruigomez that he didn't even know how much his settlement was until they ended up suing Tom Girardi and getting the settlement paperwork in the course of that. And then he learned that their settlement was $53 million, which he had never been told. The Ruigomez family hired counsel and sued Tom Girardi and ultimately settled with him. That settlement had liens on all of Girardi's personal property and really was part of a lot of conversation in both bankruptcy cases because these were clients that had to sue Tom Girardi. He settled with them and then still hadn't paid the settlement. This incident happened in 2010, and they have still been fighting with Girardi. In 2020, when the firm collapsed and this all went into bankruptcy. From 2020 till now, it's not surprising that everything has been slowed down, though their claims in the bankruptcy seem to mostly be resolved. The next witness the jury heard from was Judy Selberg. You might remember the name from me covering the state bar actions against Tom Girardi. Judy Selberg was one of the main clients whose accounts were messed with by Girardi, with money being withdrawn when it shouldn't have, money going to places that it shouldn't and not to the client. This client was one of the main sources of causes of action or counts against Girardi in the state bar action that ultimately led him to being disbarred. She was entitled to a settlement after her husband had been killed in a boating accident, and Girardi did not pay out that settlement. When testimony resumed on Thursday, August 8th, the jury then heard from Alexa Galloway, an attorney that worked with Tom Girardi up until December 6th, 2020. Remember, all of this with Girardi started really coming out in the media in late November, mid-December. So right around the time this attorney is quitting is when the alarm was being rung in that lawsuit saying that the divorce of Tom and Erica was a sham, filed by Jay Edelson. I interviewed him on the podcast, and if you haven't listened to that and are fascinated by the Girardi case, go back and give that interview a listen. It really is illuminating into what Edelson was up against dealing with Tom Girardi as co-counsel in the Lion Air case in Illinois. So Alexa Galloway worked for Girardi Keese as an attorney. She was a new attorney when she got hired and was the attorney working on the Judy Selberg case. When the Selberg settlement came in, it came in to Alexa Galloway, and she gave the physical check to the CFO or the accounting department, Chris Camone. So that money she knew came in. And then when the client was complaining about why she wasn't getting paid, this was the attorney going to Tom Girardi being like, yo, where is the money? Why isn't the client getting paid? Because Girardi was the only one who could sign checks, who could disperse things from those client trust accounts. And so this young attorney was getting yelled at by Tom Girardi, her boss, and being told to go work on other matters and stop worrying about it. She testified that when she would ask Tom about why the client that she had worked with, the client whose case she worked on hadn't gotten paid, that he would get really angry with her. And during that testimony, prosecutors brought out a bunch of emails around the firm and from this attorney showing that she was asking numerous people at the firm why nothing was being paid. She detailed phone calls with Girardi where he hung up on her, wouldn't speak to her, yelled at her. And he also started writing letters to Selberg saying that the taxes were what was delaying things. Now, these were settlement funds, and the settlement funds are not taxable, but Tom was saying that there were tax issues. He had to make phone calls to a friend, and there was a very unfair tax issue. And I am not joking. This is not hyperbole. This came out in testimony that Tom Girardi was saying that there was a very unfair tax issue and that Selberg's settlement funds were going to be 100% taxable because she was a woman, and that this doesn't happen to men. And so Tom Girardi was going to make some calls to resolve this very unfair tax issue. And it seems from the reporting on testimony that this might have been one of the things that prompted this young attorney to push back on Tom, because she knew that the IRS didn't have different tax laws based on gender. Like, that's what's not happening at the IRS. The IRS is like, oh, no. We tax everyone. Well, we can talk about large corporations another time. Emily, move on. Don't get stuck in talking about the tax code. But it seems like this attorney was just sitting there going, are you fucking joking me? I also know that they're not going to ask Alexa Galloway if she saw the reporting that was breaking in November when Erica Girardi was leaving Tom Girardi, and then stuff started swirling about the firm, and then the Jay Edelson stuff. But she left right as everything was collapsing. Like, I appreciate that Alexa Galloway was like, get to the boats. I am getting off of this sinking ship, because it was about a week after that federal Judge Durkin put a freeze on everything Girardi case right before the forced bankruptcy, because Judge Durkin was like, no, these clients are owed $2 million. You had the money come in. The clients didn't get the money, held Girardi and Girardi Keese in contempt, froze the assets, referred it for criminal investigation and ultimately now prosecution, and then held days of contempt hearings to find out what all the attorneys knew and what happened and how the clients didn't get paid and where the money went. I called into a number of those hearings to watch them, and they were fascinating. I have covered them elsewhere, but there was so much going on in late 2020, early 2021 with this case. And it feels like this is information that we know, but there is still stuff bubbling up, like this unfair gender-based tax issue that still manages to blow me away. But the thing that's consistent with all of these clients is Tom was lying to them about why the money was getting held up, and then also dropping all of his connections or supposed connections to say, but don't worry, I'm going to fix it for you. I've got this. I've got it handled for you. Telling Joe Rugomez that a judge wouldn't sign off on him getting his settlement money. That's not how that works, because he didn't want to give a young man such a large lump sum. Well, the judge that signed off on the settlement agreement put some of it in annuity and some of it was a lump sum payment, because Joe Rugomez went through like 30 surgeries and had ongoing care needs, and a judge had already signed off on the settlement. And Girardi was lying to them about needing someone else to sign off on these settlements. I imagine that the jury will be incredibly receptive to testimony from other attorneys, in addition to testimony from the clients, because it wasn't just the clients that were being really given the runaround. And as court resumed on Monday for day 4, Eric, I think it's Southey, the attorney for Judy Selberg, the client with the boat collision, who was part of the state bar action, who also was asking Alexa Galloway, the last witness in trial, about her money. The lawyer for Judy Selberg testified about the runaround he was getting when Judy hired him to try to get her settlement funds from Tom Girardi, saying that Girardi was leaving him emails and sending him voicemails. And a number of those voicemails were played in court. And they remind me of the voicemails that we've heard before that were included in Jay Edelson's filings. When I covered that initial filing, I played all of those, where in those filings, Girardi was calling Jay Edelson saying, be nice to me. I'm not a bad guy. And this testimony is that Eric Southey, who was hired by Judy Selberg, so she hires another lawyer to go get the money from her lawyer, was getting voicemails. This is quoted from court. Don't be mad. Be nice. Forgive me. Ask the client to forgive me. And when that attorney was asked about whether Tom Girardi seemed confused, he was testifying that Girardi didn't seem confused. It seemed that Girardi was trying to confuse him. And these are voicemails left in late 2020 as Judy Selberg is trying to go after her settlement funds. It seems like finally The state bar took Judy Selberg's case seriously, even though Judy Selberg had told Alexa Galloway that she was reporting Alexa and Girardi to the state bar. And when the state bar finally looked into these lawyer trust accounts, they found that money was going out of the lawyer trust account improperly and not going to the client. And that's part of the basis for the counts in this prosecution against Tom Girardi that account for client Judy Selberg. And then client Josefina Hernandez took the stand, and testimony was continuing when I started to record this. But the AUSAs have gone in a really logical order. They're telling the story based around each client. So counts in this case go to different clients, and they are telling the stories around each of those clients. So Judy Selberg and then the attorneys surrounding her. And it makes linear sense, but this trial is going to be done pretty quickly. And when I say pretty quick, the prosecution's gone through about half of their witness list. And I think the last witness will be the IRS special agent who's on their witness list. And then for rebuttal, they only have one witness who is a doctor, presumably to rebut the defense experts if the defense calls their doctors. And that we've talked about the rulings around limiting some of that testimony, but some of it will come in and the prosecution will call a rebuttal doctor. So even though there's no court on Fridays, not that many days of trial left. And switching topics from courts in the United States to courts that operate, panels that operate more internationally, we are going to talk about everything that is going on regarding the women's gymnastics floor final at the Olympics. I enjoy watching the Olympics. You guys have heard me talk about it. It is the sports ball I enjoy most. My kids are like, Mom, you're yelling at the TV. I'm like, look, man, I get to watch water polo on television very rarely, and let me live. Let me enjoy. And yes, I'm going to get into watching the pentathlon. No, I'm sorry, the modern pentathlon, because it's bananas. And I very much enjoyed it. For those of you that are like, Emily, what in the world is the modern pentathlon? I would love to tell you. And then we're going to talk about women's gymnastics. Look, modern pentathlon all takes place on one day. And France set it up so it all happened at Versailles. It starts with show jumping a horse that you've never ridden before. And from show jumping, you go to fencing. And then from fencing, you go to a 200-meter swim. And then those scores get put together. And then you run and shoot. And when I say run and shoot, it is a cross-country run of 3,200 meters. But in between the laps, you have to stop and laser shoot targets that are 10 meters away, and you have to hit the target 5 times before you can keep running, or when 50 seconds elapses. So you have to run and then steady yourself enough to shoot after doing all the other stuff. And there are not very many breaks in between. From the show jumping to the fencing is a 5-minute break. And from the fencing to the swimming is a 10-minute break to change into your swimsuit. And then from the swimming to the running is only a 15-minute break. It was wild. It was really well run, bananas. And you could see some of the athletes do really well in the swim or do really well in the show jumping. And they took the scores from the jumping, the fencing, and the swimming. And then you got a staggered start like it's the Amazing Race or something. So the person in first went first, and then there was a delay of however many seconds or minutes for the next people to start. But you definitely saw people struggling with the shooting after their first lap, and the lead could change around quite a bit. I was riveted over the weekend by this, but I was also pulled into the memes around breakdancing. And if you do not know what I'm talking about, the memes. There are so many memes, and I feel kind of badly for the breakdancers that were kind of epic and did a great job, because everyone's only talking about the person who came in dead last from Australia, who made kangaroo jumps and T-Rex poses and became a meme. All of that aside from what happened with women's gymnastics, which is heartbreaking to me for all of the athletes involved. I competed at the college athlete level. I can't imagine how heartbreaking this would be for all of the gymnasts involved, how frustrating it would be. I mean, in water polo, yeah, you get bad calls by referees. There's not much you can do about it, and you have to move on in the moment. But in gymnastics and other sports as well, things can change on appeals. And that's what happened here. So I'm going to give you a breakdown of what happened if you are not caught up to speed with everything that's going on. And then we will take a look at what the different entities involved have said and what can possibly be done next. So what happened? If you didn't watch the women's individual event finals, this was the last individual event final after kind of rough event finals. The beam final was rough. I did not see the vault final. I did see the uneven bars final. Also, some unexpected things in the uneven bars finals, but you get to the floor finals and everyone is amazing. What still blows me away is how well Simone Biles did across all of these competitions when it seems that something is going on with her calf or her lower leg or foot. And even at closing ceremony, she had a full boot on. I don't know if we'll hear about what happened, but she was still performing at an incredible level with what is clearly an injury. And it was bugging her the first day of competition. I can only imagine how much it was bugging her by the last day. So the floor routines happen, and American gymnast who is also a gymnast at UCLA, Jordan Chiles, goes last. At the end of competition, the scores are this. This is coming from NBC Olympics, and they have already updated their website to show the bronze medal going to Ana Barbosu from Romania and not Jordan Chiles, even though she was the one awarded the bronze medal the day of the competition, stood on the podium, took pictures, the whole nine. So here's the result. It was Rebecca Andrade, who had a beautiful routine, scored a 14.166. Simone Biles came in silver with a 14.133. Ana Barbosu and Sabrina Mancaviona, Vienna, I hope I pronounced that properly. I probably didn't. Tied with a 13.7. Both of those gymnasts are from Romania. And in gymnastics, I have learned since this Olympics that the tiebreaker is whoever gets the higher execution score. In this case, Anna's execution score was 8.0 and Sabrina's execution score was a 7.9. And then Jordan Chiles came in fifth with a 13.666. The appeal that happened with Jordan from US Olympic coaches was that they don't believe that she was awarded a proper difficulty score. And the difficulty score is what they multiply things by to get your final score. So if the difficulty score is off, then your score can be off. And it's something that's appealable. They appealed the difficulty score and it changed her final score to a 13.766, putting her ahead of the two tied 13.700s. The judges on the floor awarded the appeal and awarded Jordan Chiles an extra point that then gave her the bronze medal because they altered that difficulty score based on the appeal. Well, the Romanian Gymnastics Federation appealed on two grounds, and we are going to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sports ruling. Yes, like any other court case, I am going to go through the court ruling and we are going to talk about what they said. They give a bit more of a breakdown of the two appeals filed by the Romanian Gymnastics Federation that ultimately ended up changing this result. Thank you to our sponsor, Thrive Causemetics. If you have not tried Thrive Causemetics yet, after me talking on and on about the Brilliant Eye Brightener, which is the crayon-like eyeshadow that I use every day and for everything eye makeup, then maybe their new Empower Matte Precision Lip Crayon is the product for you. Look, I want all of my makeup to be basically crayons, and I want my makeup routine to be easy because I am always running late and I need it to go on and stay on. And Thrive Causemetics does exactly that. It comes in more than 12 incredible shades, and 12 is the theme here. It lasts for up to 12 hours while delivering rich pigmentation and is waterproof and sweatproof, and it works as a lipstick and liner all in one. So if you are ready for a bold, non-sticky, velvety finish, it's time to give it a try. So refresh your everyday look with Thrive Causemetics. It's luxury beauty that gives back. And if you're new to Thrive Causemetics right now, you can get an exclusive 10% off at thrivecausemetics.com/lawnerd. That's Thrive Causemetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/lawnerd for 10% off your first order. Let's get back to today's episode. This went down on Saturday, August 10th, and then we're going to talk about everything that went down Sunday, August 11th. This is the media release from the Court of Arbitration for Sport. You have probably heard about the Court of Arbitration for Sport before. Apparently, there are multiple ways you can appeal different rulings in competitions like the Olympics and other large competitions. The Court for Arbitration in Sport most recently has been discussed with regard to the U.S. ice skating team that finally got awarded their gold medals for the last Winter Olympics. At this Olympics, because there had been a skater from Russia that was disqualified from competition for doping, and that changed the team score. So though Russia had come in first and the US had come in second, the Russian skater who was disqualified's score was removed, thus dropping the team down. The US won gold, but it took until the year of our Lord 2024 for that to be resolved from the last Winter Games. So there can be medals at issue for quite a long time, though in the case of the team medal for figure skating, the athletes were all sent home with empty boxes. So no one was actually awarded and handed a medal. They were just sent home with empty medal boxes where it would later be determined what medals they would get, different from this situation where Jordan was awarded her medal, given her medal on the podium and the rest of it. So now going to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, or the Tribunal Arbitral du Sport, sometimes called just CAS or TES, depending on what language you are using. Because the official languages, Emily, did you look all this up? Yes, the official languages of this tribunal are English and French. There are members of the arbitration boards from all over the world, lawyers who focus on international matters and sports matters. The lawyers from the US all have quite impressive resumes in dealing with sport, dealing with the Olympics, dealing with different sporting bodies within the US, and is the same for the other attorneys, again, from all over the world with quite a lot of experience in international law and sport law. Many of the international attorneys being licensed or barred or whatever you say in other countries, but being able to practice in multiple countries. So this is the media release from Saturday, August 10th. The ad hoc division of the Court of Arbitration in Sport registered the following procedures for which it issued the final decision today. Again, August 10th, 2024. And then they list the different actions that they registered. And one is from the Federation of Romanian Gymnastics and Anna Barbosu, Barbosu, versus the Federation Internationale of Gymnastics, or the Gymnastics Federation, FIG. The second one is from the Romanian Gymnastics Federation and their other gymnast, Sabrina, against the FIG, the Federation of Gymnastics. And the Federation, or the International Federation of Gymnastics, is the body that handles the scoring on the floor and ultimately handles those decisions at the games and does the judging at the games. The ruling says the applications were filed by the Romanian Gymnastics Federation and gymnasts Anna and Sabrina in relation to the decisions issued by the FIG Women's Artistic Gymnastics Technical Committee on August 5th, 2024, in response to the inquiry submitted on behalf of Miss Jordan Chiles during the final of the Women's Artistic Gymnastics floor exercises. The Romanian Olympic and Sports Committee, Ms. Jordan Chiles, the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, USA Gymnastics, and the International Olympic Committee were involved in the arbitration procedure as interested parties. Keep that in mind, by the way, because not everyone listed there agrees with that assessment, but we'll come back to it. It goes on to say the application sought a ruling from the CAS ad hoc division, concluding that the inquiry was filed beyond the 1-minute deadline specified in Article 8.5 of the FIG 2024 technical regulations. The Romanian team appealing the judge's decision on the floor stated that they believed that the inquiry made by Jordan Chiles' coach and the U.S. Women's Olympic Gymnastics coach was filed 1 minute and 4 seconds after the scores were posted, and the timing for that is 1 minute. So the issue from the applicant is saying that the challenge to Jordan Chiles' score was filed beyond the timeline, and they're asking to dismiss the inquiry or the appeal as untimely, thereby upholding the initial score for Jordan of 13.66 and adjusting the final ranking accordingly. It goes on to say the applicants also sought a conclusion that the penalty of 0.1 for execution imposed on Sabrina was given without basis, thereby increasing her score to 13.80, and that the final ranking be adjusted accordingly. Subsidiarily, the applicants requested a ruling adjusting the ranking of Anna and Sabrina and Jordan Chiles by placing all 3 athletes in 3rd position and the allocation of medals to all 3 athletes. So what they were initially asking for, which I don't know if I've seen anywhere, what they were initially asking for is to adjust everything, not deduct 0.01 from Sabrina, which would make her score a 13.8, which would be above the 13.70 that was a tie, and would be above Jordan's adjusted 13.766 or the 13.666. But they said just all 3 of them should get bronze. The judges fucked it. Just don't punish the athletes. It's interesting that the Romanian Athletic Federation is filing both of these on behalf of both of their athletes, where they're ultimately asking potentially to place their athlete that the tiebreak didn't go in favor of ahead of their other athlete. But do I know how conflicts of interest work within the Romanian Gymnastics Federation? No, and I'm not going to pretend to. It goes on to say the applications were consolidated and the following panel of arbitrators were constituted to decide the matter. And then it lists out the arbitrators from France, Great Britain, and China. And then the panel heard the parties at a hearing this morning. I'm very interested to hear more about that. Keep that in mind that the parties were heard at a hearing Saturday morning, they say. It goes on to say the panel ruled as follows. The application filed by the Federation Romanian Gymnastics and Miss Anna on August 6th in its amended version of August 8th is partially upheld. The inquiry submitted on behalf of Jordan Chiles in the final of the women's floor exercise was raised after the conclusion of the 1-minute deadline provided by Article 8.5 of the 2024 FIG technical regulations and is determined to be without effect. So they're voiding the challenge. The initial score of 13.666 given to Jordan Chiles in the final of the women's floor exercise shall be reinstated. They go on to say that the FIG shall determine the ranking of the final of the women's floor exercises and assign medals in accordance with the above decisions. All other requests are dismissed. It then goes on to say that the application by Sabrina with regard to the deduction is dismissed. So they left it up to the FIG or the gymnastics judges to determine what to do. Reassign the medals in accordance with the above decision. And then a whole bunch of other stuff happened. So that was August 10th. Later in the day on August 10th, the FIG released a statement saying, in the women's artistic gymnastics floor exercise, final ranking amended. Following the publication of the decision of the CAS that I just read by the ad hoc division of the Court of Arbitration for Sport, the FIG confirms that the results of the women's artistic gymnastics floor exercise final on Monday 5 August 24 are amended in accordance with the decision as follows. The initial score of 13.666 given to Jordan Chiles is reinstated. The ranking of the women's artistic gymnastics floor exercises finals has been modified accordingly, with Anna from Romania ranking third with a score of 13.700. Then USA Gymnastics made statements on Saturday and Sunday in the midst of Jordan Chiles also saying on Instagram that for her mental health, she was taking a break from social media. The thing that is so frustrating to me in watching all of this is a judging error, but it is the athletes who are 100% suffering, and they shouldn't be. This is the judges. And I don't know if this is endemic within the sport, but it seems when your rules are you have a minute to do a thing, and then you can appeal things in this way. And I don't know gymnastics. Are there other ways to do things? I don't know. But it seems that in all of this, the athletes are the ones who are paying the price. And that the original request was, can you give them all third? Can you give them all third? Because I don't even know if the athlete who is reinstated at this point even wants it. And I don't even know if Jordan would want it. All of it is so tainted and muddied. It's going to leave a very negative impression for current gymnasts, for future gymnasts, for gymnasts who are like, you know what, it's not even worth it. And it's not as if USA Gymnastics has been without scandal. It's not as if this is a sport that hasn't had its ups and downs. This, though, is not the fault of USA Gymnastics, who is standing by Jordan Chiles and has released numerous statements. We're going to go through them in sequential order, getting to what they released today, right before I recorded. From August 10th, this is a joint statement from USA Gymnastics and the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee regarding the CAS decision on the women's floor final. Quote, we are devastated by the Court of Arbitration for Sport ruling regarding women's floor exercise. The inquiry into the difficulty value of Jordan's floor exercise routine was filed in good faith, and we believed in accordance with the FIG rules to ensure accurate scoring. Throughout the appeal process, Jordan has been subject to constant, utterly baseless, and extremely hurtful attacks on social media. No athlete should be subject to such treatment. We condemn the attacks and those who engage, support, or instigate them. We commend Jordan for conducting herself with integrity, both on and off the competition floor, and we continue to stand by and support her. That was from Saturday. On Sunday, USA Gymnastics releases this statement, saying USA Gymnastics on Sunday formally submitted a letter and video evidence to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, conclusively establishing that head coach Landy's request to file an inquiry was submitted 47 seconds after the publishing of the score within the 1-minute deadline required by the FIG rule. In the letter, USA Gymnastics requests that the CAS ruling be revised and Chiles' bronze medal score of 13.766 reinstated. They go on to say the basis for the CAS ruling on Friday striking down the inquiry was that, quote, the inquiry submitted on behalf of Ms. Jordan Chiles in the finals of the women's floor exercise was raised after the conclusion of the 1-minute deadline provided by Article 8.5 of the 2024 FIG technical regulations and is determined to be without effect. They go on to say the time-stamped video evidence supported by USA Gymnastics Sunday evening shows Landy first stated her request to file an inquiry at the inquiry table 47 seconds after the score is posted, followed by a second statement 55 seconds after the score was originally posted. The video footage provided was not available to USA Gymnastics prior to the tribunal's decision, and thus USAG did not have the opportunity to previously submit it. I am wondering how much opportunity USA Gymnastics and the US Olympic Paralympic Committee had to engage in the Court of Arbitration hearing that was convened on August 10th, because they said that the Romanian Olympic and Sports Committee, Jordan Chiles, The U.S. Olympic Paralympic Committee, USA Gymnastics, and the IOC were all involved. So in all of that, of course, the IOC had something to say. And the IOC statement is being reported by NBC, which is in the US, the official media outlet of the Olympics. I have not found this anywhere on their official outlets, press releases, nothing. But the IOC statement to the media said they would be in touch with the US Olympic Paralympic Committee regarding the return of the bronze medal and will work with the Romanian Olympic Committee to discuss a reallocation ceremony honoring Anna. But when I was looking into this, because I have seen that they re-awarded medals to the US skaters, there have been numerous athletes who have been stripped of medals. And I don't want to use that language for what happened here because being stripped of a medal really does imply some wrongdoing or cheating on the part of the athlete, because the medals that have been stripped have been for doping and things like that. And that's not what happened here. This is the judges. So they are reallocating the scores and reallocating the rankings, but it does sound that they are taking away her physical bronze medal. And I can't find reports of where that's ever been requested of any athlete in any sport ever. Even when medals have been reawarded, I can't find the IOC asking for the medal back anywhere. And I appreciate USA Gymnastics bringing the receipts and the screenshots. Everything's filmed. You would think there would be like a buzzer at the, if there is a 1 minute time limit. First of all, don't you think the judges would just be like, oh, it's past a minute, you can't do that, if it was really that close? And don't you think that that would be time-stamped somehow? If it's this critical that you make the inquiry or the challenge within a minute, there can't just not be a procedure to record that. And of course, other than the statement from Jordan saying that she was removing herself from social media for her mental health, which I applaud her for doing, I don't think she should be under attack in any way. And again, this is the judges. Numerous outlets have reporting that Anna Barbosu has made a statement after she returned home from the Olympic Games saying, quote, "I only want for everybody to be fair. We don't want to start picking on other athletes of any nationality. We as athletes don't deserve something like that. We only want to perform as best as we can and to be rewarded based on our performance. The problem lies with the judges and with their calculations and decisions." And it does. This is a problem with the judges and their allocation of points and scores, not with the athletes themselves. And then we get to the USA Gymnastics statement published Monday, August 12th, right before I sat down to record this. Thank you for today's sponsor, Shopify, who not only hosts the Law Nerd Shop, but is kind of the reason we have a Law Nerd Shop, because it was so easy to get it up and running on my own. Of course, you're familiar with Shopify. It is a global commerce platform that lets you sell no matter what stage you're in, from your first orders to 1 million orders and beyond. You can sell either in person or online or both. So I'm not surprised that they power over 10% of all e-commerce in the US, including brands you're familiar with, like Rothy's and Brooklinen, and of course, the Law Nerd Shop and your favorite nail polish. Shopify also has the internet's best converting checkout, and it really is easy to set up. But if you hit any roadblocks, their award-winning customer service is there to walk you through it. So get signed up now with a $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lawnerd, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/lawnerd now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. That's shopify.com/lawnerd, and you'll start hearing this sound soon. It's no wonder that businesses that grow with Shopify. Let's get back to today's episode. USA Gymnastics was notified by the Court of Arbitration for Sport on Monday that their rules do not allow for an arbitral award to be reconsidered even when conclusive new evidence is presented. We are deeply disappointed by the notification and will continue to pursue every possible avenue and appeal process, including to the Swiss Federal Tribunal, to ensure the just scoring, placement, and medal award for Jordan. And I am so mad about the fact that the Court of Arbitration has absolutely no method or procedure for apparently taking in new information after a final ruling, but they have ruled this case closed per everything in their procedures. This case is done. The U.S. Olympic Paralympic Committee put out a statement on August 11th saying that they are appealing, and this is a statement they have given to the media. I imagine there will be an updated statement from the U.S. Olympics and Paralympic Committee in the days to come after this notice to USA Gymnastics that, yeah, okay, so you have stuff that's time-stamped and it directly contradicts our ruling, but there's nothing we can do. So the U.S. Olympic Paralympic Committee said on Sunday, August 11th, that they will be appealing the recent decision made by the Court of Arbitration for Sport regarding Jordan Chiles. We firmly believe, they said, that Jordan rightfully earned the bronze medal, and there were critical errors in both the initial scoring by the IFG and the subsequent CAS appeal that needs to be addressed. The initial error occurred in the scoring by FIG, and the second error occurred during the CAS appeal process, where the U.S. Olympic Paralympic Committee was not given adequate time or notice to effectively challenge the decision. As a result, we were not properly represented or afforded the opportunity to present our case comprehensively. Given these circumstances, we are committed to pursuing an appeal to ensure that Jordan receives the recognition she deserves. And in all of this, they use her full name. They are not disrespecting her. I have shortened it down to just her first name. To ensure that Jordan receives the recognition she deserves, we remain dedicated to supporting her as an Olympic champion and will continue to work diligently to resolve this matter swiftly and fairly. It's so incredibly frustrating when it feels like there is potentially a very clear answer from USA Gymnastics saying, we have video that's time-stamped showing when this appeal was made. Your issue was the inquiry came in too late, therefore it's voided. We have video evidence that contradicts that. Their response is, yeah, well, so sad, too bad, there's nothing that we can do. I don't know if FIG or the IOC will do something different here, but it is incredibly frustrating for any athlete. And it's just incredibly frustrating to see when the ruling on the floor doesn't stand, but then the evidence that supports the ruling on the floor, or at least that the inquiry was made properly, also just won't be looked at. Because I've been covering so much of what's going on in the Karen Read case, it's very paralleled to me seeing but there's more information here. Why won't you look at it? Of course, the judge hasn't ruled in that case yet, but I'm very much a person that wants all of the information. If there is more information to be had that is squarely on point within such close time to these things happening, it's mind-boggling to me that the answer is, in the case with the Court of Arbitration, no, there's nothing we can do. It's days after the ruling. And I'm frustrated because I really do like sport. I like the Olympics. And I'm bummed. I enjoy the Olympics. But especially when there is judging fuckery afoot, it's really hard to feel like it's fair, especially in sports where the scoring can be deeply subjective. In swimming, the person who touches the wall first is the winner. Now, of course, swimming can have its own rulings that you look at and go, why are you excluding that person from the race after the fact? It can happen in any sport, but less is left up for judges to determine. Yes, referees can make bad calls in all of the games of sports ball, but the more goals at the end of the day is what wins it. With the more artistic sports, everything is already so subjective when you get the execution scores and what have you, and the judges are the ones determining the difficulty scores. I don't know what the solution is to that, but I feel your frustration for all of you that reached out and were like, what is happening here? It is frustrating. And this Olympics had been so exciting. So many incredible feats of athleticism, so many incredibly powerful women in sport. You have a fencer competing while pregnant and dominating. And the US women's rugby team, our country doesn't exactly have the longest tradition of rugby, but to see them come out and just absolutely leave it on the field. Rugby, though a tough sport, a sport with quite a long history of camaraderie, we saw so much excellence. It's really frustrating to then have it tainted by this. And the excellence in gymnastics, too. One of the things that I'm always so struck by in the Olympics is the stories of resilience. And you look at Simone Biles and the resilience to come back from having to walk away from competition the last Summer Games and to take the time to take care of herself. Something that isn't always focused on in sport is taking care of you, right? A lot of athletes will push and push and push until they break because they feel like there's somebody right behind them willing to take their place. So to be able to say, no, I am going to step away and we will figure it out and I will figure it out. And that means maybe stepping away from the sport, maybe coming back. But even when you're looking at the story of Rebecca Andrade, who won gold on floor, had 3 torn ACLs in the span of 4 years. That level of recovery and healing and then courage to get back into the sport is inspiring. So it's just frustrating to me to see the work of these athletes be tainted by the judges not being excellent when they must. And seeing the US federations have to call out hate on social media towards an athlete, it's just why? Like, why? Be mad at the judges. I don't know. When people are torn down on social media like that, I don't know how they bounce back from it to continue to share their excellence, their light, and their joy. So I don't know where this story goes from here, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. I think we've seen so much shifts in gymnastics here in the US because the rules in the NCAA that governs college athletics has changed so much, allowing would-be Olympic athletes to also compete at the college level. And we saw 2 of the Olympic gymnasts on the US team also competing for their colleges, where they found a tremendous amount of camaraderie and joy. At the heart of it, isn't that what this is supposed to be about? Isn't it supposed to be about bringing everyone together to cheer, to celebrate, to compete, and to unite? And stuff like this does not do that. So from my enthusiasm over the Olympic pin trading and seeing all the behind the scenes of the Olympic Village to a battle between numerous international federations over a bronze medal, it's heartbreaking to see. And we will keep an eye and see how it resolves, because at the end of the day, the law is going to law. Don't worry. In a future episode, I will check back in on what the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee is doing with Prime and Jake Paul and using their intellectual property to sell drinks. We'll get back to that. But for today, I'm leaving this one here. I can't wait to talk all things Olympics and not Olympics and law with you soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a law nerd. Say it with me. May your Wi-Fi be strong. May your toilet paper be plentiful. May your family be well. Take care of yourself. And may the odds be ever in your favor. I'll see you in the next one. All right, law nerds. This one bums me out, man. It's like, Emily, your voice. I know. I'm bummed. I will see you in the next one. You can stay up to date with everything I'm covering on our free iOS and Android app at lawnerdapp.com. or search your app store for Law Nerd. And you can also follow me on social media at the Emily D. Baker. Remember, I stream on YouTube on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I recap all of that for you in quick bits on Monday. And of course, the Emily Show drops on Wednesdays. Thanks for being a Law Nerd.